Hey, what's up, man? Did you buy a raccoon mask? Like I found this on the door, like on the porch. Like I was thinking, did you buy it from Amazon or something? No. See, as a black person, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things we can cosplay and dress up as. None of those include monkeys or raccoons for obvious reasons. All right, to be honest, I don't even like to play Rocket Raccoon on Marvel Rivals. Yeah, true that. True. That's understandable. But I mean, so where did it come from though? Like, I ain't buy no raccoon man. Well, see, you be making all them videos, you know what I'm saying? You done made them Kendrick videos, you done made those Black Tropes videos. You done probably made somebody mad. They probably sending you a message. What's wrong with you? Yeah, I'm out of here, man. I'm going.
6 months later.
Come on, bro. What's up, cousin? How'd you get in my house? Same way you did, big dog. How else would I get in the house? So, who are you, masked spirit? I'm a product of your subconscious. Okay, and why is my subconscious a raccoon? Look, you know exactly why I'm a raccoon. Okay, you know what's going on here. Stop tripping. I don't know, but whatever. Look, I don't know what you want. You know exactly why I'm here. You've known for months, because I have been asking you for months. You know exactly what I want. Can we please have escapism? Alright? Why can't we have just a regular story? I am tired of struggle movies. I'm tired of struggle movies. I'm tired of civil rights movies. I'm tired of these crap-tastical black movies. You told people back in that video you was tired of slave movies and struggle movies and all this capital B black movies. And now you gotta finish the job. Look, I don't want to be that guy no more, okay? Alright, I want to be positive. Okay, you know what I'm saying? I want to make positive black escapism videos, positive trope videos. I don't want to do that no more, man. My knees ain't made for tap dancing no more. I just want to be positive. Look, nigga, stop tripping, alright? Your first positive video got 700 views. Alright, the last negative video you did got 50,000. Okay? If you don't stop tripping to get on this camera, you know, you is kind of right, though. Niggas do like negativity or positivity. Let me get that seat real quick. What's up, YouTube? My name is Mario, a.k.a. The Real Super Mario. Check out the main channel because the main channel is popping. A.k.a. The Loot Box Hero, a.k.a. YouTube's greatest fat man here, bringing you another video. So we're going to go ahead and review Sinners. And to be honest, I didn't want to do this video mainly because everybody liked the movie, everybody was having fun. And you know what I'm saying, it's just that there's some niggling things with this movie. And the movie falls victim to a lot of the same problems that Lovecraft Country fell victim to. The fact that it really feels like it needs to do these messages and themes, and it constantly trips over itself instead of just telling the story that it could tell. You know, all it really had to do was be a horror movie with vampires and black people. The Krispy Kreme clan is in this movie. You know, I don't want to get the video suppressed, so I'm gonna call it the Krispy Kreme clan is in the movie. You know what I'm saying? Then they have this weird anti-Christian message. Like, all of this stuff really, it kind of like, it doesn't mesh well together, and it kind of takes away from the central, like, cool plot of the movie. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to review it. I'm going to separate it into positives and negatives. But first I'm going to go over the plot.
Blues wasn't forced on us like that religion. No, sir. We brought this with us from home.
It's magic what we do.
It's sacred.
This movie stars Michael B. Jordan as smugglers or thieves, Smoke and Stack. And they want to open a juke joint in the Deep South. And so what they spend the first like 45 minutes to an hour. And it's really slow, all right? Basically accruing all of these various different characters. So they go and they find the Chinese couple so they can provide food, they can cook. I mean, they can provide the food. Smoke goes to find his girlfriend, who is a a root woman. I know people got mad at me last time. I mistaked it too, so I'm sorry. She's a root woman. He went and found her so she can cook the food. Then of course they go and get this big dude to be a bouncer, and they go and get this drunk dude to be another singer. And then of course there's our main character, Sammy, who is Smoke and Stack's cousin. They go and pick him up from his dad's church to be the guitar player for the night or for the evening. And the movie, the movie is pretty good. The plot itself is pretty good, especially once the vampires come in about 45 minutes into the movie, and we get one of the best characters in the movie, and that is Remick, the main one of the main antagonists, because technically his plot is summed up before the movie even ends. One of the main antagonists in the movie, and his whole deal is that Sammy has these special powers when he plays his music, and it basically draws him because his power allows him to bring in spirits from the past and the present and the future to dance with them while they're playing the music. And that's basically the plot of the movie. Remick wants to get Sammy's powers. Smoke and Stack want to protect Sammy and keep him from getting taken or turned into a vampire or killed. And then everybody else dies in the process. And that's basically the plot of the movie. Now, there are two subplots to the movie that kind of take from the central plot. And that is this kind of Krispy Kreme clan subplot. All right, which is it starts off in the beginning of the movie when Smoke and Stack meet this like old fat knight of the Krispy Kremes. They meet him and they're like, "Hey, don't you work for them Krispy Kreme knights?" And then he's like,
"Shit, clan don't exist no more."
Liar! No, man, no, that's cool. No, I don't do that no more. You know what I'm saying? That was my past life or whatever. And I mean, so then of course they buy the barn from him, and so this turns out to be like a trap because at the end, the Krispy Kreme clan comes to get them, and so that kind of stuff happens. But we're gonna talk about that a little bit later. The other subplot here is of course the Sammy subplot. Since he is the main character, he has his own kind of subplot that is this weird anti-Christian screed. Whereas like, it's him and his dad wants him to give up the blues music and come to Jesus, you know what I'm saying? And so of course he doesn't really want to do it because he wants to get out of the shadow of his father. There's a lot going on here, and again, it doesn't really mesh that well. But we're gonna go ahead with the positives.
You boys twins? Nah, we cousins.
So one of the biggest positives by far is this movie is probably one of the best shot or one of the best looking movies I've seen all year. All right, the wide shots in this movie, the cinematography is incredible. Like, another reason why I didn't want to do this movie is I watched a little 10-minute segment that Ryan Coogler did where he was describing like all the various like, ways he shot the movie and all the resolutions he shot the movie in for this screen and that screen and this particular movie theater. And it's like he has a passion for making movies. This is not like a grift for him. This is not like he has a passion for this. All right, and he makes these movies look really, really good. It's just that the themes and the story don't always reflect that though. The other thing is Smoke and Stack are pretty good characters. They honestly should be the main characters of the movie. I feel like they were written as the main characters, and like I feel like Sammy was kind of like wedged in here, like kind of added on, because his story feels tacked on. You know what I'm saying? It feels like the main story was them opening this juke joint, and then the vampires coming, and then they had to say, "Oh, well, we need to bring in some capital B blackness in there, so we're gonna make this a blues story, and then we're gonna put some struggle stuff in here," But Smoke and Stack are the coolest characters in the movie outside of Remick the Vampire Lord. They also do a really good job with this green screen like you know, because technically Michael B. Jordan is playing both of these roles, and they actually show in the beginning of the movie how good they are at doing this by having, you know, them two share a cigarette right beside each other on the screen at the same time. So that was really cool. The other positive of this movie is, of course, Remick. Now, Remick is kind of a mixed bag. All right, he is probably one of the most charismatic vampire villains I've seen in a live action movie. All right, like he's pretty good as a vampire. All right, that daggone like midnight mass scene that he did where they were like river dancing, bro. That sucker was it's a good scene, bro. All right, it's a good scene, and he's a pretty complicated character because he is evil. He's definitely evil because he's a vampire, but he also kind of just wants to. I don't want to say he wants to fit in, but he just kind of wants to see his ancestors, you know, because he's probably a really old vampire. He's probably a product of, like, you know, England invading Ireland, and he actually remembers all that stuff. One of the parts of the plot is, like, when he's getting ready to turn somebody, he gives them these really old doubloons. This really old, like, you can tell it's old because it's hand stamped. So it's not like, you know, made by a machine. So he's definitely a very old vampire. And his character is pretty cool. The mixed bag part is they kind of make him a hippie. So he's like this kind of weird hippie vampire. Like, oh yeah, we're all about equality and love. And it's like, what? Like, you do know that you're an unholy abomination. Like, what are you talking about, sir? You know what I'm saying? But Remick is actually a pretty good character here. And then, of course, the last big positive is the action scenes and the effects. The action scenes and the effects are pretty good. There are some stuff that is practical, like people get shot in the face and they just have this gangrenous looking wound, but because they're vampires, you know, it's just there. They don't die, you know. Now, the one problem I will have with this is the vampire lore is kind of weird. They changed the vampire lore a bit to whereas some things that normally work on vampires don't, and they did that because of the Christian subplot, you know. But the action and the effects are actually really good. All right, so then we segue on into the negatives. So this is going to be a bit, you might want to get a snack and a tasty beverage because there's a lot wrong with Sinners. This movie, the first kind of big negative here is the first half of this movie is a massive slow burn, right? And in a way, it's kind of a good thing because it allows them to flesh out the characters and also get all the characters together so that when things hit the fan, you know, everybody's in the right spot to die. You know what I'm saying? But the main problem with it is it's inflated by all of the extra stuff that they have to put in. Like Slim, the drunk blues singer guy, he tells this story, right, about these dudes that they pass in the car on the chain gang.
Me and my buddy Rice. His husband back and forth up the Delta. We get busted for vagrants. And white sheriffs take us down to the jailhouse. It's empty. They're for sure they're gonna kill us that night. You get us our instruments back, they tell us to play. Stack we played, preacher boy we played, you hear me? Music was coming out the windows.
What'd y'all do with the money?
I drank it. Rice said he was gonna take that money, going out to Little Rock, start him a little church. Clan got a hold to him. Searched his pockets, found all that money. Made up a story about him killing some white man for it and raping that white man's wife. And then lynching right there in the railroad station.
And I'm like, this story does not pertain to the plot of the movie at all. The only reason you're telling us the story is because this takes place in the Jim Crow South. So, of course, in Jim Crow South, black people were arrested on trumped up stupid charges like vagrancy, loitering. Then they would be taken to some kind of corrupt magistrate, and the magistrate would then sentence them to be imprisoned with labor. And basically, you're back where you started in 1862 again. All right. essentially a new way of forcing black people back into labor. And that's the only reason why this is in the movie. Like this part of this 1 hour sequence in the beginning of the movie could be cut out and you would lose no value to this movie. All right, because these people on the chain gang don't play a role in the story. The other person, they got kidnapped by the Krispy Kreme Knights, because he tells 2 stories on this long car ride. None of this stuff plays a role in the story. Okay, all right. If this entire segment was slim, was cut out, you could probably save like 5 or 6 minutes. Shave that clean off of this. You know. Speaking of, it also kind of breaks the immersion of the movie, because he talks about this scene where these guys got picked up for virtually nothing, but in the city, Smoke literally shoots 2 people.
Fuck you going, nigga? Bet this bull to beat you there.
Damn, what you do that for?
Can't have some nigga talking about how he almost robbed the twins. Not without a limp. Show for it.
In broad daylight, and there's no policemen out there. Nothing happens. All right, and I'm like, so wait a minute, you telling me that your friends got pulled for like nothing, and then Smoke out here committing the whole felonies, attempted murders out this piece. Nothing happens. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like he had anti-police plot armor. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, everybody else can get arrested but him, because, you know, he the main character. We ain't gonna arrest Michael B. Jordan. You know, he too sexy for jail, you know? Like, what? It break, like, if they took that part out of the movie with Slim, then it would make more sense. You know what I'm saying? That's why the police, you know, they just suck at their job. They just don't care about people getting shot in town, you know? Has a very, like, you know, black versus white dynamic to it, which is kind of par for the course for black movies, but this one really kind of takes it there, and it also kind of sucks in other POC groups as well. So there's, of course, the regular dynamic, as in like the main characters are the black characters, and the villains are the white characters, as you see in a lot of black movies. But it kind of goes deeper than that, because this movie is a semi-musical, and of course with musicals, music is a big part of the movie, and the white characters, they have just like old school, like, you know, already established songs, you know, and of course the vampire is an Irish character, so of course he would have some old Irish style music. But usually for a musical, like, you would give the villain their own villain song. But no, Remick just gets, you know, old Irish hymns, and then all the black characters, or the protagonists, they get, you know, actual original songs written for them, for the movie, for their characters. And so it kind of comes across as like, oh, all the stuff that the black people have is original, and the stuff that the white people have isn't, which might be somewhat of a nitpick, but it also kind of goes to the greater, you know, us versus them dynamic of the movie, because there's also like this cultural appropriation gatekeeping gimmick in the movie, where it's kind of smart the way they did it, but it is still kind of negative, because they use vampire lore. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, he uses vampire lore of like, oh, well, the vampires can't willingly come into your house. You have to allow them in. You have to let them in to do it. You know what I'm saying? So the juke joint kind of represents black culture. And of course, the white people, you know, they really want black culture. They really want, you know, like Remick really wants Sammy's powers. But they can't just come in. They have to be let in by somebody else that's already in. You know what I'm saying? They can't just be like us. So somebody has to help them or allow them to be like us. And this wouldn't really be that big of a deal. But you got to think about it like this. This is a musical, kind of, sort of. You know, and in the musicals, the hero and the villain songs are like some of the most important songs in the movie. All right, and so you've got the hero song, or hero as much as he is one, Sammy, and that's basically, you know, I Lied to You, or the song that he plays in the juke joint, which is defining to his character. All right, it defines him as like, oh, I lied to my dad about, you know, wanting to be, you know what I'm saying, you know, in the church or wanting to take up the church or what have you. You know, I actually want to do something else. You know, that is a character defining moment for Sammy. Remick doesn't get that. You know what I'm saying? Like I mean, don't get me wrong, the scenes and songs that he has are pretty good, but he doesn't get that. Imagine Hamilton without its villain songs, right? Imagine if like Burr, you know, Leslie Odom Jr.'s Burr didn't have like Wait for It. You know what I'm saying? Or like In the Room Where It Happens. You know what I'm saying? These are like huge songs and huge parts of the story that wouldn't be told because, oh, we don't run that. So the villain doesn't need new songs. Just find some song that we can like license for a cheap amount of money. It's like,
Oh, that's not how the game is played. You can't do that.
Imagine if this narrative was flipped, right? And you had like a white director making a movie, like a white director making a Viking movie, and then, you know, he's low key like, oh, well, we can't let them POCs on the boat because blah blah blah. People will be calling it like the modern day Birth of a Nation. Not that one. That one. There you go. You know what I'm saying? People will be calling it like that, you know, and it's like, and nobody really says anything about this. I'm like, did nobody see this? Like, this is kind of blatant. And then it kind of goes on to the other POC characters as well, because like you've got like the Choctaw Indians who are introduced basically chasing Remick into the plot because they're vampire hunters. You know, so they chase Remick. He ends up meeting the Krispy Kreme clan family, and you know they hide him in their house. And when the Choctaw get to the house, they're like, "Oh, you know, there's a vampire in the area." And then, you know, the people are like, "Nah, it's alright, he ain't here." And so they said, "Okay," and they just leave. You know what I'm saying? They just leave like, "GG's, we're out." And I'm like,
you guys fucking suck.
Aren't you supposed to be vampire hunters? You know, all you gotta do is go take a nap, wait till nighttime, wake up, and guess what? He's going to move at night. You can catch him at that point. But instead, they're just like, nah, we're good. And they just never come back in the movie again. So I'm like, these are the most irresponsible vampire hunters ever. Like, they just it's their problem now. Which is probably what they were thinking. Like, oh, well, I want the vampire, he's yours now. But, I mean, what about all the other people he could possibly kill? They just, nah, not my problem. It's like, okay. And then they do the same thing with the Asian characters, because there's only two POC groups in the movie other than black people, and that is the Choctaws and Asians. And the Asian couple is, you know, of course, because it's a black movie, so if it's an Asian couple or an Indian couple, you know, they have to either own a taxi cab or a corner store or a restaurant. So, of course, this Asian couple owns a general store, which is basically a corner store for this era. And Smoke goes to them to get the food his girlfriend's going to cook for the juke joint. And the husband seems pretty chill, but the wife doesn't really jive with all the black activities of the juke joint. And so when things start to go south, she wants to leave. And she's the one who sends her husband out to, you know, get the car so they can leave. And which, of course, once he leaves, he gets turned into a vampire. But they don't know what's going on at this point. And then, of course, she's also the one that lets the vampires in because they threaten to go and turn her daughter into a vampire. So, you know, the Asians are the downfall of the black culture juke joint. And so I'm like, yo, these people take shots at everybody else but the black people, bro. Every other non-black character in this movie has some kind of negative aspect. And I'm like, how come nobody notices this? If a white movie did this, it would be the most racist movie to come out in years. So one of the other negatives in the movie is the voodoo / root lady. Omi Masaku actually does really good with this role. I don't think she's ever acted poorly in a role that I've ever seen from her. She doesn't do a bad job with the character at all. It's just that the character's position in this movie is weird. Because they're like her character is like the magical exposition character, right? So like when they encounter the vampires, right? Because the first vampire they encounter is for real is Mary, like the Haley Steinfeld character. Like she kills one of the characters in the movie, and you know what I'm saying, they're like, oh snap, what's going on? Like what happened? Why did she do that? I shot her, she got up and ran away. And so then all of a sudden, like the root lady is just like, I heard a story about this. They're vampires. You know, we gotta stab them with a wood stake. We need some silver and some garlic or the sun. And it's like, how do you know all this? Like she just becomes the vampire Pokédex lady, you know. And it's like, you know, I mean, usually in movies they kind of have a way for you to like organically get this information. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like you have an encounter with the enemy, and through the fight or through the encounter or through seeing something or whatever, you learn what you have to do to fight that enemy. We don't get that in this one. All right, she just goes, no, we got to do this, and this. I heard it through the grapevine. And it's like, oh, okay. Thanks, root lady. You know, the other thing is she also plays a part into the anti-Christian narrative here, because of course she is the voodoo root lady. All of the Christian parts of the vampire mythos are substituted with her. So, you know how vampires, they don't like the cross, they don't like holy water, you know, they can't come into churches. None of that stuff is in this universe. So the only thing, like the only religious things that really affect the vampires is her root magic. All right, so they replaced the crosses and holy waters with this like little voodoo labubu that she gives to Smoke. Like, cause I saw in the movie, like, I think that some kind of way the blessings she put on this voodoo labubu, basically they don't kill him. You know what I'm saying? The vampires don't kill Smoke. They try to, but they don't. So one of the other negatives in this movie, and it's gonna be a surprising one, and it's Sammy. Like Sammy's whole kind of being in the movie feels kind of wrong. Like, oh, it doesn't feel wrong, but it feels like tacked on. It feels like they wedged Sammy into this movie. All right. I mean, and Sammy's part of the plot is integral to the movie, but it feels like it was just kind of written that way. Because one of the big parts about Sammy being in the movie is that Sammy has these powers that Remick is after, right? But nobody acknowledges his powers. Like he plays, you know, at the juke joint, and everybody's like dancing. Then you got like these Zulu warrior ghosts, and you got click African ghosts coming out. And then, you know what I'm saying, there's like a ninja and a geisha, because, you know, there's like 2 Asian people, so you can't leave the Asian people out. There is a white lady in there, you know, because Mary is like 87% white or whatever, you know, but there's no white ancestors that pop up, because, you know, I guess white people don't have souls or ancestors or something. But no white people pop up. But you got Zulu warriors and click Africans and ninjas and geishas. And then souls from the future come in. So you got like Rick James
And the future.
and like a rapper. And it's like, what? And again, nobody acknowledges this at all in the movie. And it's one of the most bizarre things about it. Like, why does nobody acknowledge this happened? Like, the only person that acknowledges what happened is Remick, because he can see it, because it draws him. All right, like you don't see anybody else go, man, you see that Zulu warrior? He was like, what the hell? Blah, blah, blah. Like, nobody acknowledges what happened. And it's like, I feel like, again, I feel like his story was like written into this after the fact. All right, because if you remember, I did a video on this when they first announced this movie, before it even had a title. All right, and the premise was vampires versus the Krispy Kreme Knights, okay? All right, and that was it, you know, and of course it got suppressed by YouTube because I put a Krispy Kreme Knight in the cover, the thumbnail, which was probably a bad idea at that point. But, yeah, and I feel like that was the premise. And then they said, well, we needed to add some extra stuff in there. So they added Sammy into this movie. Another thing about Sammy that I'm not a big fan of is the fact that his character feels very wooden. And I don't know if it's the problem with Miles Collins or Collins, because this is like his first movie. He's like a blues singer or R&B singer or something. This is his first feature film. Okay, so I don't know if it's an issue with, this is his first movie. He's not the best actor yet, or maybe the character was just kind of written this way, but he feels kind of wooden, And the last little bit about Sammy, like, it feels like Sammy is kind of like a direct response to like criticisms of Black culture, because Sammy knows that his powers or his music like has a negative effect, right? It brings all these spirits together, but it also draws evil. All right, there's also evil things that want the power or want to destroy the power. And so he knows this, and of course the smart thing to do would be to stop, because you played this once and got everybody killed but yourself, and almost got yourself killed, but he just is like, nah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and continue to do it anyway. And he just becomes a blues singer and just continues to play the music even though people could die. And it's like, I feel like this is kind of like a weird analogy for Black culture in a way, because a lot of people talk about the negatives of Black culture. Like, there are positives, but there's also negatives. There's also kind of a self-destructive type of edge to Black culture, whereas like it's good to listen to, but also it perpetuates negativity within the community, but we just kind of listen to it anyway. We just kind of rock with it anyway. We just don't stop. And I feel like that's what he's saying with Sammy's character. All right. And I'm like, this doesn't make him a good person. Like, if he feels like a terrible person. Like, if you know that this could kill people, you should probably stop. But, it is what it is, though. You know what I'm saying? And speaking of things being what they are, we move into the other negative in this movie. And like, there are several, I wouldn't say several, I said maybe there's like 3 to 4 like sex scenes in the movie. And like, now me, I'm not like a prude, I'm not somebody like, oh my God, there are sex scenes in this R-rated movie, scenes of adult sensuality. This is terrible. Like, I'm not a prude, okay? I get it, it's an R-rated movie, okay? But for the amount of sex scenes, it seems pretty gratuitous, because it's like 3 or 4 of them. But the scenes are also very like PG-13. All right, you know what PG-13 sex scenes look like. That kind of weird, dry, humpy, everybody got their clothes on type of sex scenes. Like, sex scenes like you watching them dance on like Law and Order or CSI on television type of sex scenes. And it's like, if you're going to do gratuity, you might as well just do it. And I understand if you respect the actors or actresses or whatever, I get that. But like, for the amount of sex in the movie, I feel like you should have just went on ahead and did it. Like, you working for the people that own HBO, they definitely know how to do titties. Okay, like, you know what I'm saying? You might as well go ahead and just do it. You know what I'm saying? Like Nike, man. I'm tripping. But the other thing is, most of these scenes don't really push the plot forward. All right, you know what I'm saying? They just seem to kind of be there. That's why I said it seems gratuitous. With the exception of one, and there's the Haley Steinfeld scene, which that one actually pushes the plot forward, because she uses that scene to get close to the person that she's trying to turn. But all the other ones just seem like they're here. Like, a perfect example would be the Root Lady and Smoke, right? So the Root Lady and Smoke, like, Smoke goes to meet her, and you know what I'm saying, he goes to this grave, and he lays something on the grave, and you find out that that's the grave of their child that they lost. And so then he goes to talk to her, and through the actor's body language and through like, their vocal cues and the way they talk to each other, you can tell that they are something. All right, they're an item. They're not just friends. All right, you could tell that there's chemistry there and that they like each other and that they are a couple. All right, you can tell this just from that. You didn't even need the sex scene. But after they talk to each other, I mean, next thing you know what I'm saying, they dry humping. It's like, oh, okay.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
thanks. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just happens. And look, here's the thing. Imagine this. Imagine you, you know, you're the baby, and you look up at your parents from voodoo heaven, and you're just looking up at your parents like, wow, really? Y'all couldn't even close the door? You know what I'm saying? Like, my grave, like 20 feet away, like, I'm in earshot, just, y'all just going away at it, you know what I'm saying? Like, just imagine that. That's basically a scene in this movie. And I'm like, wow. And I'm not even gonna get into the daggone Sammy scene, bro. All right.
Wait, preacher boy, walked here.
I just want to taste you.
I ain't even gonna go there, bro. One more thing that I kind of forgot. Sammy's love interest. Why is this character in the movie? Like, I mean, she only does a couple things in this movie. She meets Sammy. They have this weird sex scene. She does a fake out where they think she's a vampire, but she's not, and then she dies. That's it. She bears no weight on the story whatsoever. All right, you know what? You know what she reminds me of? She reminds me of the love interest from Christmas Story 2. Anybody ever see Christmas Story 2? You know, the Jane with the BB gun? They made a sequel. She reminds me of the love interest in that sequel. All right, so moving on to the next negative in the movie. There is this weird anti-Christian narrative in the movie. And you can kind of see it throughout. And like, this one is kind of ingrained in the movie. It's in Sammy's story. You know what I'm saying? With the whole like tension between him and his dad. His dad wants him to leave that dark stuff alone. He kind of doesn't want to do it. Then also with Remick. Remick is kind of like an analogy for, not just an analogy for white people, because, you know, this is a capital B Black movie. So of course, you know, the unholy blood-sucking abomination is going to be an analogy for white people. But it's also an analogy for Christians. Like, there's one scene where he talks to Mary, all right, right before he turns her, where it feels like almost like he's witnessing to her.
Because you're in some deep, deep pain that money can't fix. Am I right? You came over here for fellowship and love.
Fellowship and love. My mother, she just passed.
Oh, that's awful. I wish in my heart that we'd have met sooner. I would have liked to have saved your mother from her fate. I can still save you from yours.
Oh, now you must have me confused. I'm sad as all, but I don't need no saving.
Yes. Yes, you do. You all do.
Like, if you know anything about Christianity or evangelism, you witness to people. You talk to people, you know what I'm saying? You get to understand their problems, their pains, and, you know, you kind of tell them how Jesus can help them with this, you know, how Jesus can help them with their pain or help them heal from their pain, you know, emotionally or physically. And he's doing that, but he's doing that to turn her into a vampire. And I'm like, wow. People told me now, before I watched the movie, people were saying that this was kind of anti-Christian, and I was thinking like, oh, they're just talking about it because it's vampires. No, like, I feel like there's like a church hurt here. Like, I think like Ryan Coogler got like maybe hurt in the church, you know, emotionally or something, because church hurt is like some of the worst hurt you can have. All right, because you go to church to not hurt, and if you get hurt in the church, it's a whole different kind of hurt, you know. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why, because he's just punching at Christianity with this movie. Another reason is, of course, you know, there is an ongoing, like I said back in the tropes video, there is an ongoing like thing against Christianity from the Black community, like to separate the Black community from Christianity and lean them more towards voodoo as being the quote-unquote Black religion because it's from Africa, you know, and Christianity doesn't necessarily represent Africa and all this other kind of stuff. That is something that is happening and is definitely in this movie. All right, so the last big negative I'll talk about in this video is the ending. So the ending of this movie, like the climax and the ending are two different things in the movie. So the climax is this big, cool battle between the vampires and the black people, or the people in the juke joint. All right, and of course, you know, the Asian lady is the one that lets all the vampires in, because, you know, it can't be a black people can't cause their own downfall. It has to be somebody else. And the white lady is already turned into a vampire, so it's got to be the Asian. All right, you know, so it's got to be the Asian lady. So she lets all the vampires in because she's trying to save her daughter. So the vampires come in and they have this big anticlimactic fight, and then a fire starts. Honestly, it's one of the best looking scenes in the entire movie. The fire, this fight, like, it's action, people are dying, like, the blood, like, you know, it's crazy. All right, I'll be honest, I kind of want to see it again. All right, just that scene though, you know. But they fight through all this kind of stuff, and then eventually, you know, they get the vampires outside. And they paralyze them through like this kind of convoluted like hive mind thing that they don't really explain too well, but they paralyze them, and then the sun kills them and they all die, and that's it. The vampires are gone. And I'm like, oh, okay, so this is the end, right? So then I look at my watch, and it turns out, no, it's like 10-12 minutes of the movie left. I'm like, oh, well, shoot, like there might be some awful long credits, like, dang, bro. Turns out, no. All right, the movie goes on, because there is, of course, the Krispy Kreme clan subplot. All right, has to be resolved. So it turns out that Knight of the Krispy Kreme, that fat dude in the beginning, is actually a Knight of the Krispy Kreme. Like, honestly, you know. And so they come to go after them, because this whole selling them the barn thing was a plot that, you know, so they could get a bunch of black people in one space, and they can take them out all at one time. And of course, this happens after all the vampires kind of already did that. So Smoke, you know what I'm saying, he basically sets a trap for them, and he's got like a Tommy gun and like a sniper rifle, and he like popping them off from the bushes like he playing Battlefield 6. Then he pops out with the Tommy gun. He's like, ah, you know, and he has this black man takes a stand against the Klan scene, and it's like, okay, that was really cool, but like, why is this happening after the climax of the movie? Like, this is a vampire movie. The vampire is dead now. Why are we still here? Like, and then they splice this with the other ending of the movie, which is the ending of Sammy's plot, which is the ending of the Christian subplot. Basically, it goes back to the beginning of the movie, because the movie starts in medias res with Sammy going back to church after everything happens, and he comes in covered in blood. He's got wounds. He's shaking. His guitar is broken. He's dirty, disheveled, and his bro. Just check the scene out, bro.
I want you to swear to me and before this congregation to leave those sinning ways where they lie.
I'm like, bro, why did they write this man like a Christian sociopath? All right, like, he doesn't say, hey, are you okay? You know what I'm saying? You know, you're bleeding. Let me get you some stitches. You know, let me get you to the doctor. You know what I'm saying? Hey, if they wanted to be funny with it, they could have been like, hey, come in, close the door, and keep whatever that did that to you out there. You know what I'm saying? None of that. He just goes straight to, come to Jesus, my son. Come, stop doing all the darkness and come to the Lord. He didn't care anything about what was happening to that man. He just went straight to the spirituality. And I'm like, is this how they see Christians? Like, it feels, this feels kind of crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and the thing is, all of the like the message parts of the movie feel like the ones that are the worst written, or the ones that feel like the most tacked on. Like, all the stuff with Smoke and Stack, all that stuff seemed pretty cohesive and pretty, you know, it flows pretty good, because like, Ryan Coogler is not a bad writer. It's just that this stuff seemed like it was tacked on. It seemed like it was added on after the fact, you know? And like, I just didn't like any of this. And it's not even because like, oh, he's a Christian prude. I mean, I am a Christian, but the fact of the matter is, I can watch movies that have doubts about Christianity. I can understand that because it's just a movie. But this wasn't like they have doubts. This was just taking shots directly at Christianity. Like, it's pretty crazy, you know. Now this kind of anti-Christian like mentality really kind of stems from like the black intelligentsia, all right? The black intelligentsia, the race hustlers, kind of like the Wakandans of the community, because Christianity, you know, was used as a way to help like enslave black people or to help keep them, pacify the slaves. You know, you have to follow our religion. So, you know, they believe that the religion was forced upon us, even though Christianity goes way beyond the chattel slavery of the 14th, 15th century. It goes way beyond that. You know, even in Africa, I mean, just look back at Ethiopia. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, Ethiopia wasn't forced into Christianity through slavery, but they only think of it from that aspect. So that's why they're looking to try to maneuver hoodoo or voodoo or what have you as like, yo, this is the black religion. It's, you know, this is one closer to your, you know, culture and your ancestors, when, you know, voodoo is, you know, just a wee bit evil. But the after all this happens, the ending of the movie, we have Smoke, and Smoke gets wounded, and his black man takes a stand against the Klan scene, and he's dying, right? And I kid you not, I kid you not, bro. I'm not lying to you. They steal the scene, the ending scene, the death scene from Gladiator. When Maximus dies, they lift that scene directly from Gladiator and put it on Smoke. Like when he's bleeding out, he even gets hit in this, because Maximus got stabbed in the back on the side. He gets hit in the front, like a through and through on the side. And so he's bleeding out. He's on the ground and he's lighting a cigarette. He's like, oh, I'm gonna die. And so then all of a sudden, like the Root Lady and their baby appear from voodoo heaven. And she's like, don't do that, because you're gonna get smoke on the baby. Don't get no smoke on the baby, Smoke. And then he looks over, and then they're there, you know, breastfeeding for some reason, because I guess in voodoo heaven, babies still gotta eat, you know. And so then, you know, he picks up the show. She gives him the baby, and he's like, oh, look, it's a little voodoo baby. And he's holding the baby, and then I guess he dies, and I guess they all go to voodoo heaven at that point. And I'm like, what? What was that? What was that ending? And people say that, oh, this is the best movie of the year. This is the best movie of 2025. This is the best movie I've ever seen for all black people. I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? That ending was insane. They literally stole that ending from a completely different movie and just tacked it on the end, even though they had a perfectly good end when they killed the vampires like 12 minutes ago. And then everybody said this is the best movie ever? Come on, dog. Stop playing with me. I was like, no, I couldn't let this go, bro. This video hounded me for months, okay? For months. I was like, nah, I gotta spin back. All right, I gotta spin back around the block on this one, bro. All in all, this movie is a very well executed, very good looking movie, but it has the same pitfalls of a lot of black projects like this one, Lovecraft Country, you know, some other black projects that we've seen in the modern day. It can't get past the fact that it's gotta be a capital B black movie. It's gotta do this us versus them dynamic when it comes to black people and white people. You know, it's crazy, man. You know, but to me, I mean, I'm not gonna rate the movie, but we can do better black escapism. We can do this, okay? All right, and it shows that Ryan Coogler can do it. The parts of this movie that wasn't trying to preach to me, or, you know, talking about preachers negatively, were good. All right, we don't have to have struggle movies. We don't have to have niggas picking cotton. We don't have to have us versus the white people. We don't have to make these kind of movies. All right, we don't have to do it. We are free, okay? You know what I'm saying? I just want to see one non-struggle movie. So that's about it for this. I know this is a pretty long video. Tell me what you think in the comments. You probably will. You know what I'm saying? You'll probably will call me all kind of sentient raccoons and tap dancers and stuff. It is what it is at this point. Tell me what you think. Like, comment, subscribe, and as always, people, have yourself a good one. Man, that ending was trash, bro.